On today's World Insight, a closer look at climate goals as Dubai rolls out the red carpet for COP28 on Thursday. What's the conference priority? How can COP28 put climate targets back on track?
We've had a year of increasingly urgent and alarming reports on the impacts of climate change.
Climate alarmism, no, but scientifically backed and scientifically proven action and alert is important.
We are seeing the renewable energy developed and deployed at an unprecedented speed.
Hello and welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei. COP28 is set to convene later this week on November the 30th in the UAE. Chinese President Xi Jinping will send his special representative, Xuexiang, a member of the Standing Committee of the Politburo of the CPC Central Committee and Vice Premier of the State Council. It's been 8 years since the Paris Agreement, yet the world has barely made any progress yet on climate targets, with time quickly running out to prevent irresistible harm, as some say, from global warming. Discussions have shifted to how the world should adapt to far deadlier heat waves, megastorms, and catastrophic sea level rise. Meanwhile, new technologies have been on the rise. Renewables, the use of it, have become such a beautiful scene in our world today. So what can COP28 achieve pragmatically? On that, let's talk to our panelists. I'm joined in London, Isabel Hilton, founder of China Dialogue, also visiting professor at King's College London. In Vienna, Anis Bayarek-Taravish, professor and chairperson with the International Law and Global Political Studies. And in Beijing, Ma Jun, director of the Institute for Public and Environmental Affairs, founder of Blue Map app. Ladies and gentlemen, what a pleasure to see you once again. I hope our discussion about the climate change is not just taking place when the COP28 is ongoing. Having said that, though, this meeting is crucial as always, but how much can be achieved, Isabel?
There's always expectation at these meetings. They are very large, they are very cumbersome, and frankly, if the ground hasn't been well prepared before the conference of the parties, it's very difficult to get an effective result. So I think there's an increasing feeling that these meetings are absolutely necessary, but they are certainly not sufficient. And having said that, we've had a year of increasingly urgent and alarming reports on the impacts of climate change. But I still don't really have the sense that the kind of difficulties of getting everybody to agree to everything have or can be overcome at these meetings. So I think what we will increasingly see is that these meetings will continue because, as I say, they are essential to try and involve everyone in a global problem, right. But that we also increasingly look to side meetings, to conferences of, or at least groups of willing actors who are prepared to move faster, to look to them for real action.
One of the problems with the COP, is this is making a spectacle out of it, So it's very common, and it's a business as usual, for different international instruments to have periodic reviews of the homework done by the signatory or states that are ratifying things. So with the Conference of Party related to the UN FCCC or Framework Convention on Climate Change, and the protocols is a little bit creating a spectacle of it. it's important to let's say to popularize issues, but at the same time we can be getting into trivialization of the entire issue.
Right.
Use it as a buzzword, use it in a nomadic fashion, from topic to topic. A few years about one topic, then we abandon the issues and the topic, and we move to another. Climate alarmism, no, but scientifically backed and scientifically proven action and alert is important, but very often it's also sliding into the direction of alarmism, the environmental or climate change alarmism, which is used for politicking. Then this misuse for the daily political issues is maybe one of the biggest damages. And when you create such a big event out of COP,
private organizations like yours, what are you seeking for? How much outcome do you expect?
As Isabel said, it's hard to substitute it. This issue of climate change is getting so serious, and the challenge so pressing. So it needs the whole world to come together to resolve that. And I think UN, the United Nations, UNFCCC, I think the whole COP is a process that it's hard to bypass. We have to depend on that, unfortunately or fortunately. And this year, this COP28 is particularly important because it will be the first stock taken. After Paris Agreement was signed. And what happened during the past 7-8 years, the whole world need an answer to that.
Right, about triple renewable, double efficiency. Let's see whether that is achievable. Isabel, renewable has become such a strong force in our energy consumption these days worldwide. What do we need in order to make it even more abundant and make sure the cost will be down? What do you think are the most important factors? Whether COP28 will be able to provide some momentum for that?
Well, the cost has come down enormously since this whole process started. And in fact, and China has played an enormous part in that, because China's capacity to manufacture at scale is so important. So that if you are building a new energy system, the cost of building a renewable system is rather, is at par with building new coal or new gas at this point. There are other technical difficulties, like how to manage grid when you get renewables at the kind of scale we're talking about. You have a very different requirements and pressures on an electrical grid. So that is an additional technical problem. And of course, as you say, the other problem is mobilizing new finance and ensuring that we don't lock ourselves in to new fossil fuel at this point. So finance is always the issue at COP. There has been some progress. There's a feeling, of course, it's never enough, certainly in terms of public finance. So a lot of the conversation now at this COP will be about how to mobilize more private finance, more private investment, how to get that blend of public and private, which mitigates the risk for private finance, but gets the volume of private finance involved. And actually the host country and the other Gulf states, which are petro-rich states, they're states which have made enormous, fortunes out of oil and gas, are being encouraged, I think, to switch their investment focus into renewables.
Whether the climate issue will be used as a method for trade protectionism, how to avoid that so that positive goals can be pushed from both directions. It's always crucial, isn't it?
Yes, since you spelled the word UNIDO is one of the specialized agencies of the United Nations, and unfortunately, after the collapse of Soviet Union, the first next move that United States and United Kingdom have done was to walk out of the organization. And the organization has been created for the even development of the planet on a request of Global South. So there were processes back to 40s and the 50s. in which actually the developing countries of the South said, okay, trade, yes, but give us also possibility, a fair share possibility and prospect of development itself.
Right.
And one detached part of it was into Geneva with UNCTAD, with the Conference on Trade and Development, and the other was creation of the Specialized Agency of United Nations, one of the 15 specialized agencies on industrial development. And those are the signals that have been sent. So basically, when we come to the topics of climate change, we come again to those questions of the issues of the developed part of the world.
Sure.
and the developing world, the transfers of technology, the burden sharing, and all other things. Definitely, the renewables would give us an incentive to go into the direction of the research and development, will boost certain sectors, but this is foolish to believe that at the present approach we can replace or dramatically change our primary energy mix, which is heavily leaning on the carbonics. So this is absolutely unscientific, and this is absolutely, I would say, the politicking aventurism to claim and to promise to your population, to your voters, by next Thursday we're gonna be all on renewables and we can cut usage of carbonics.
But the difficulty that we're facing is that the most efficient way historically to meet energy demand, which all our societies need, has been through fossil fuels, and the effort now is to substitute that with fuels that don't damage the climate. Now that is an enormous. Obviously, we all know that's an enormous transition, but it's one that we are now absolutely we have to do it, or if we don't do it, then we are on the edge of changing the climate in ways that we can no longer control, and that will be far more damaging than
Jin, your thoughts on this?
As the two distinguished guests has mentioned, that there's still demand for fossil fuel. There's actually a rising demand, unfortunately, for fossil fuel due to the conflict in Europe, but on the other hand, we are seeing the renewable energy developed and deployed at an unprecedented speed and scale. Globally, the last 2 years only on the solar PV side, it's a kind of developed. It's being increased by 50%, and in China, the last 2 years, it's all above that rate. And this year, it's increased by nearly 90% in China. And so we're tracking the whole expansion of renewable energy, and we can see that China is on track to achieve its 2030 target set for wind and solar by 2025. And so we're on our way to overachieve the global renewable energy target, which can support a net zero path, in a scenario designed by IEA.
The world is changing fast, taking all our lives with it. But we can change it too, by seeking answers to problems through discussions and debates. On World Insight, I ask direct questions to real people in the know, seek genuine answers, but respect diverse perspectives. Our live global debates tackle the most critical issues head-on. World Insight with Tian Wei go beyond the headlines.
Herdsmen find new, efficient ways to raise sheep. Conservationists find ways to protect rare breeds of birds and monkeys in the deep jungles. Cities experiment with new forms of clean, sustainable energy that can replace the pollutants currently damaging our world. All across the country, there is a new heartbeat, and it pulses with one rhythm. What can we do to protect our environment, improve our development, and sustain our planet? Join us as we answer these important questions in our special series, Heartbeat of China, only on CGTN.
We understand China and the United States recently, during the APEC Economic Leaders Week, have been agreeing on a blueprint, something about post-China-U.S. joint statement on climate change back to tripling renewables to substitute coal, oil, gas power, and bring about post-peaking meaningful absolute power sector emission reduction. What does that mean, Jun?
China and U.S. has made an agreement actually in Glasgow, but unfortunately, all this bilateral and geopolitical tension have derailed the whole process. And this time, we are very, very encouraged to see the two countries again come together to try to address this challenge that the whole world is facing. These two countries put together has emission, has accounted for 40% of the global carbon emission, and it's crucial for them to really take very practical and play active roles to solve the problem. The two countries have agreed that this decade is crucial. So a working group have been set up to try to address the climate change issue. And this time, finally, this working group will be put into operation. And then another very, very important step taken is for the two to agree on the issue of methane. And the two countries have decided that to host a global methane summit during the COP meeting. Right. I think all this will be very, very helpful for the work to come together.
Isabel, how much political will is there?
Well, there's certainly more than there was 6 months ago. I think we can say, as Martin has rightly pointed out, this is a set of commitments made in Glasgow. That's already 2 COPs ago, but events rather knocked everything off track. I think, if the world's two biggest emitters can't work together, then there's very little hope for the process. So I do think that the United States and China owe it to the rest of the world to try to maintain the momentum on climate, regardless of other geopolitical tensions, because those tensions, right, I'm afraid, will continue to exist. We live in a very disturbed world.
Right.
But on methane, which again Majun mentioned, that's a massive opportunity to buy ourselves time.
An agreement here that basically the recent summit of APEC and also a meeting of the two leaders of the two largest economies and most probably the most influential countries of the world was a confidence-building measures or rapprochement, and that basically it send tranquilizing political messages, because the buzzword, if you want really to be serious on climate change, is de-escalation of everything that escalates and divides us. And unfortunately, since 2019, we have been accumulating, let's say, issues and the problems and even the open conflicts on the planet that were sharply dividing us and creating a rift. So this is the most important message, and this is my interpretation of let's say high level, high impact delegation from China coming to the Emirates. Basically, first and most of all, sending a political signal of reapproachment and willingness to cooperate constructively on any issue. And then, of course, very much including the climate change. I feel important to mention, alarmism while listening to our distinguished colleagues, I recall the wording, the alarmistic wording of the Club of Rome, which started back to late 60s, early 70s, nearly 70, 80, 50, 60 years ago. And practically we have sporadic alarmism. Then it was the Stockholm conference, then Rio summit, then Johannesburg. Every time we said, okay, planet is running short, we have to do this because in 2 months, the planetary collapse will happen. All those things were important to raise the awareness, but they've been also trivializing issues. So I think we have to give when we talk about climate change, we have to give more say to the real scientists, those people who are not expressing themselves very well, who are not passing the trainings on public diplomacy and PR. Those people are actually holding the merits on this topic. Of course, politics is important. Without political will, we will not move. And I'm afraid if we are serious, we have to revisit the chapters of Nikola Tesla, my countryman. But the problem with the Teslian technologies is that you cannot monopolize them, and it's very difficult actually to yield profits out of them.
I see.
So, but if you are serious on profits, we will then play the same old tirade. But if we are really significantly interested in a significant change on this planet, and the contribution of human beings, then we should revisit really sincerely the philosophy of the new approach to technology of Nikola Tesla.
My final question for all of you is what it means when new technologies such as those related to solar renewables and things like that, combined with AI, artificial intelligence, have we been working on technologies to understand the potential? How much energy is being put into here vis-a-vis the everlasting geopolitical debate or the everlasting what 1.5 degrees would do to all of us? I think that is also an important question, isn't it, Jun?
Yes, absolutely. I think that the whole world is facing already, triple planetary crisis, pollution, biodiversity losses, and of course, climate change. But in the meantime, AI, artificial intelligence, have created all this huge, great, potential for human. But in the meantime, also generate all these risks and dangers. So I think what we can do is to manage the risk, but in the meantime, try to tap this technology as much as possible to make it, for good use, to try to help accelerate the development and deployment of, let's say, renewable energy and new energy vehicles, and I think artificial intelligence can play such a vital role. If we can say that the last more than 10 years, just slightly more than 10 years, with the cost of all this renewable energy can drop by 80% globally, and on the solar side, 95%. I think there's a big potential for us to further.
And the use of new material, lithium, as we say, is providing the raw materials for the batteries of electronic cars. So this is a very different time we're talking about. So Isabel.
Yes, well, as you say, we're on the threshold of even more technological leaps and new materials, but we have developed new technologies. It's important not to get too gloomy. We have made progress. And I think that increasingly, rather than at the COPs where things default to the lowest common denominator because everyone is involved, we will see increasingly coalitions of the willing exploring the opportunity.
Anis.
Look, technology, of course, we can't be regressive, So there are plenty of technologies, fascinating technologies. But what is also important to mention, there is no silver bullet. What is required is a multi-sectoral and multi-generational approach, which is beyond one political span. And part of this alarmism comes, when you are newly elected, if you follow, all inaugurational speeches of any president of the planet, we are living in the critical moment. This is the decisive moment, because they are giving to themselves the importance. The issues are cross-sectoral, cross-generational, and we will not finish them in one political cycles of 3, 4, even of 8 years. And this is, this approach, like any approach, to humanize, our living on this planet, requires lot of patience and steady efforts of all actually stakeholders in every society. And I think this message has to be sent, not nomadic radial spectacles. We have to be prepared, exactly as the colleagues were telling, to be a part of the process, which is not bringing, the effective rewards, next day. It's a steady work as the life itself. The life is journey, not a destination.
Well, with that philosophical note, we can wrap up today's conversation. We hope the COP28 will be more successful than we could ever imagine. Of course, as all of you said, it only starts with the real work on the ground. Anis, Isabel, Jun, thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tianwei.
And that's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to know more, search World Insight. Check out our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook. I'm Tianwei. On behalf of the team, thanks for being with us. Bye for now.